online. I'm on social media. Our program is on social media. So, we have a website that we try to keep relatively up to date. So hopefully you can get a lot of information from there. And the goal tonight is really just to kind of get to know us a little bit, and if you have specific questions about our program kind of going into the process, then we're happy to try to address them the best we can. So first off, I guess I'll just say, as you know, we're an adult neurology residency program. We are a categorical program, so you don't need to also apply to preliminary programs, and we have 7 residents per year. And we rotate at a bunch of hospitals, primarily at Hartford Hospital and at UConn Health are the 2 primary places that our residents rotate. And we have also Connecticut Children's Hospital, which is walking distance across the street from Hartford Hospital, and then a bunch of different clinics and a rehab hospital that are all sort of within a 10-mile radius that really give you an opportunity to visit a ton of different subspecialty offices, some affiliated with Hartford Healthcare. There's a private practice that our residents rotate in, but you'll hear a lot more about details from our program. But it's a great place to train, and it's an awesome place to live as well. Central Connecticut, I know you're all on Zoom, but if you haven't been to Central Connecticut, it's really a nice place, and it's so conveniently located to easily get to Boston and New York and a lot of other places that are really nice, like Vermont and Cape Cod and Newport, and lots of cool places to take trips to that are just within a couple hours. So, but it's a nice place on its own to live. I love it here. I've been here about 15 years, and I've been program director at this program about that long. So I'm happy to provide any insight that I can provide. So I think we'll start the slideshow so you can meet our residents and faculty, and they'll introduce themselves as we go through the slides, and then each of them are going to talk a little bit about a different aspect of our residency program. So I'll turn it over to our faculty and residents.
Hi, everyone. I'm Naharika. I'm one of the 4th-year residents. I've actually grown up in Connecticut, and UConn has become a second home to me here. I couldn't think of a better place to spend my residency days. So I would say UConn is very much about diversity and inclusion. Each class has 7 residents, as Dr. Schuyler mentioned, and everyone is from all across the globe. There's 50+ faculty from various different countries, training backgrounds. For instance, some have even trained as neurologists or internists abroad and come back here to the States and gone through residency here. So it's really, we have all the different perspectives that make a very unique learning experience. Next slide, Tina. And so this is the UConn family, just a few of the many faces. We love it so much here that a lot of graduates stay on as faculty, some of whom you'll meet today. And so all the different disciplines from epilepsy, movement disorders, stroke, neurocritical care, neurointervention. So we have a lot of familiar faces, and residents also like to stay and do fellowships here, and some do both, do fellowship here and stay on as faculty. So it's really a great network, alumni network, and everyone's very approachable. One big family. Next slide, Tina. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Victor. I'm one of the PGY2s. We're going to be discussing the PGY 1 year. And so on the left, we have a little chart about how the breakdown of the first year is. You can see that, you know, the 20 weeks of it is mostly inpatient heavy on the medicine side. But the majority of the year is spent with the internal medicine cohort. We have these events called personal and professional development, where you kind of meet up with the whole cohort. You kind of do like various activities with them. You do like meditation, talk about how they can best support you during that first year, because it's kind of a really big transition. And it's nice that, you know, at least they have that opportunity that they can help out, talk to everyone. We also rotate at 3 different sites. I'm still friends with a lot of the IM residents, and it's really nice. You work very closely with them, and it's kind of hard to say goodbye after you go into PGY2, but you still see them around and their name on notes, which is kind of cool. And we have 8 weeks of dedicated neurology period, and you guys rotate through, and it's really fun having you guys around. We also have 4 weeks also in the neuro ICU. Next slide. And before we transition from PGY 1 to 2, we go through a neurology boot camp, and it's the entire month of June. During this time, we have didactic sessions with faculty. We get to meet and get to know them all, and they teach us a lot about the very core kind of aspects of neurology. And it really prepares us to at least get your feet wet to get ready for PGY 2. There's wellness and team building activities. In the morning, there's usually group learning, and in the PM, you usually go to your specialty clinics or you shadow. We also have sessions where we have simulations, skill building exercises. We have a really cool simulation center that seems pretty high tech. They have some really cool dummies that like cry too. It's kind of cool. We have buddy long calls with seniors. And we go to stroke codes with them and take calls with them and kind of learn the ropes with them. Go to the next slide.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aisha, one of the PGY4 as well. I grew up in New York, Brooklyn, and I went to St. George's University med school. And here I am now at UConn for residency. So it's been a very, very cool last 3 to 4 years here. So I will discuss briefly the 3 years that we spent here doing in neurology. So the schedule here is very unique and designed in a way where, we are front loaded with inpatient, consults and, inpatient stroke service and inpatient general neurology service as PGY2. And that way, you're building all the skills you need to, prepare yourself for to learn as much as possible in inpatient setting as a PGY2. And in PGY3 year, you're more loaded with outpatient subspecialty clinics and, basically to, evolve into, what your subspecialty or your skills, more prominently. So in PGY3 year, you also have a lot of times outside of inpatient. So that way you are spending a lot of time doing in other research and your own work, and you're able to apply to fellowships because a lot of the fellowship application do start, very early on. So you have a lot more time. That way, you're doing ambulatory subspecialty clinics, electives, and you're building other skills in neurology, for instance, EEG, EMG, things like that. And then as PGY4, you are now, in charge of, training the PGY2s, and you're working inpatient again. You're building your skills to become independent and as a pseudo attending, basically. As a PGY4 year, you're running the teams and running the service mostly. So. And you also get to do, a lot of the other aspects of neurology and neuropsychiatry, rehabilitation, things like that. So overall, I feel that, the year by year, it is designed, the schedule is designed in a way so that way you're getting best of, all inpatient, outpatient world, basically. So I won't spend too much time on this. I will move on to the next slide to go over briefly the highlights of the schedule. Our schedule. So one unique, aspect of our service, one of our blocks is day float. I haven't really seen this in any other programs. So day float is actually one of my favorite service blocks where you get to come in a little later on. It's a 10 to 12 hour shift where you're basically primarily helping out the inpatient teams, the stroke team, and also the consult team. You're seeing patients, you're seeing consults. You're not really, carrying any patients, you're not rounding, but you're also seeing patients. So it really helps you build a lot of skills during these blocks. And the buddy night float. So another unique thing about our program is that PGY2s don't do any night float until after block 4. And, the first 4 blocks, they're always supervised by the seniors, the PGY3s and 4s. And that's really, really unique and very helpful because these 4 blocks, you're really learning as much as possible supervised, and you're not thrown into, under the bus, basically to, do things on your own. And it is very helpful to learn a lot from your seniors, from your attendings. It's a very supportive environment. And then long call is basically during PGY2 year, where, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., you're covering all the inpatient service. And night float is usually from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. But, around 7 a.m., the day team usually comes in and we take sign out and relieve the night float person. The home call at UConn is another very unique aspect of our program. This really helps you, build that experience where you're learning to be independent, doing the home calls, taking stroke calls from home. And as an attending, you'll be doing all this on your own. So this really helps you build that experience and that training, the skill. Other than the service blocks, we have plenty of time for electives and outpatient experiences. And Tina always giving us choices about what electives we want to do ahead of time, and we get to pick and choose any type of electives in neurology we want to do. So it's overall very, very outpatient and inpatient based, and you get to experience really any subspecialty here you want to. We can move on to the next slide, Tina. I think this is Dr. Tersarias.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Karan Tersarias. I'm a vascular neurologist here. I also work as a curriculum specialist. So I'll kind of go over briefly about the resident education. So we have a lot of education activities kind of scattered throughout our schedules. Started with daily morning report every day before rounds, followed by bedside rounds. We have protected lecture time every Tuesday afternoon from 12 to 3, where we cover all the various subspecialty lectures throughout the year, in addition to additional hands-on workshops that we have really integrated over the past couple of years. We also have APPs who are integrated into the stroke team, which really helps with the ability to residents to be able to focus on their educational responsibilities and kind of have the APPs help out with some of the clinical responsibilities. As you probably saw on the first slide, a lot of us have kind of stayed after our training back at the program, and pretty much all of us enjoy really working with the residents in terms of the teaching, and genuinely enjoy the whole development from a PGY2 to a PGY4 as we kind of go through the program. The next slide, please. The clinical conference, as I said, kind of the protected time for the residents is Tuesday afternoon from noon to 3 o'clock, during which the APPs would cover all the stroke codes and the clinical responsibilities on the stroke service. In addition, the attendings on the consult service would kind of take over the pager so that the residents can attend the lectures. Lunch is provided during these afternoons. We, as I said, have all the various subspecialty lecture series worked through the year. Some of the updates that we have done are kind of modifying our journal club and including more hands-on workshops. Over the past few years, we've included neuro-ophthalmology, Botox workshops for headache and movement disorders. Starting this year, we actually also started a neurointerventional workshop and also a DEI workshop. And then one of the new conferences actually starting next week is a weekly EEG review conference for the inpatient teams to be able to go over the cases with the epilepsy team to learn the finer nuances of EEG interpretation and management. Starting this year, we also incorporated a new continuum review, which is one of the ways we have encouraged our chief residents to also kind of take the leadership role and review some of these continuum issues for the higher yield topics so that we can all kind of learn together. Thursdays is our academic morning with grand rounds. Typically in the morning at 7:30, there's a resident case presentation. And followed by that from 8 to 9 is our grand rounds presentation, either from our faculty or an invited guest. Wednesday afternoons is also our neuroradiology conference, where we can review all the radiology cases with one of our neuroradiologists, which is very helpful for our junior residents to kind of get comfortable with interpretations of CAT scans and MRIs. We also have a clinic lecture series separately at UConn, which kind of focuses more so on outpatient relevant clinic topics. And closer to the right exam in the months of January and February, we also focus on specific right review series specifically so that our residents are better prepared for their in-training exams. To the next slide, please.
Hi everyone, my name's Alia. I'm a PGY1, so I was in your shoes exactly a year ago, so I know how it feels. I'm going to jump right in and talk about continuity clinic. So continuity clinic for us starts day 1 of our PGY1 year, which I think is really excellent. You're assigned a half day per week where you go to the UConn outpatient pavilion, which is that top left picture. It's a beautiful, beautiful clinic. And initially as a PGY1, the program is really kind to us because it gives us 1 patient per half day. That's what we start out with. And then gradually, as we get more comfortable, they get to 2 patients per half day, and then they eventually build it up to 5 patients. The clinic is staffed with medical assistants, nurses, social workers who are just incredibly helpful. They know, as PGY1s, we don't really know anything about the system or even the area sometimes, so they're incredibly helpful. And to be quite honest, it's my favorite part of the week because I get to escape all of the medicine stuff and finally do some neurology. So it's really fun. And if you have any questions about Continuity Clinic, feel free to ask me during the Q&A.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Assad. I'm one of the vascular neurologists here. One thing that I wanted to highlight specifically for this, for our program, while there are so many amazing things that so many of the residents and faculty already mentioned, is research. While, of course, residency is like heavily clinical, no matter what program you go to, but one of the highlights of our program, which, I really want to emphasize, is that there is ample opportunity and, of course, ample involvement in research. While you can see that, people from our residency programs, including faculty members, present regularly at multiple national and international conferences. And, I think we picked a number of 20 abstracts, but more or less we have 20 to 30 abstracts per year at conferences. There are multiple ongoing NIH-funded clinical trials, up to 9 in vascular and in neurointerventional neurology that I know of currently that we are enrolling for. And even as a resident, you can get sort of involved in a lot of research opportunity that is present both at UConn and also at Hartford Hospital. The benefit that you have is that a lot of our faculty is actually involved in clinical research. Some of our colleagues at UConn are also involved in lab-based research. So not only will you have adequate supervision, but you'll also have adequate support. Some of this support, which I really like, is that we have a dedicated research staff when it comes to writing protocols, helping you with IRB applications, and making sure that you only focus on research. The other thing is that in terms of access to data, not only do you have, sort of registries of different sort of diseases like stroke registries and stroke databases at all of our sites, you also have access to all of Hartford Healthcare's other sister hospitals. So if you want to really involve yourself in research, you can definitely do that. One of our chief residents who's here, Niharika, has been enrolling patients since she was perhaps a PGY1 and has been part of like some published international trials already. So depending on what your interest is, you will not only have adequate support, but a lot of supervision and access to research opportunities, including involvement of medical students. This is one of the only programs where, as far as I know, where we have a research chief resident with the responsibility of connecting medical students and other junior residents to faculty and ongoing sort of studies if they're interested. So that is something that we really, really admire about our program and are very proud of. Next slide, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Marie Eugene. I'm an epileptologist, primarily based out at UConn. And I'm, aside from being an epileptologist, as far as my clinical hat, I am the neurology clerkship director. So I oversee educational content, curriculum, and administrative aspects of the neurology clerkship. And it's definitely a team sport, and one of the major players in the team are our residents. We have increasingly noted more medical students from UConn going into neurology. This year, we're up to 7. And a big part of that is the role modeling and the teaching that occurs, not really from faculty, which I hope some of that, of course, has rubbed off on our students, but I think a big part of it has to do with the time and the way that they've had an opportunity to interact with our neurology residents. So I definitely look to the residents to make the students feel welcomed on the teams at John Dempsey Hospital, aka UConn Health, and at Hartford Hospital. We get really wonderful comments about our residents. I have evaluations every block that I review. And one of the nice things that I never have to worry about are all the wonderful comments about how much students felt included. They were made to feel part of the team, and how much the residents dedicated time to teaching them. So it's not lost on me that it takes time, it takes dedication. but it's a really important aspect of medical education as a whole, and a part of us continuing to grow as a specialty, that we're able to attract really talented medical students to our field. We have a dedicated fourth-year chief resident who focuses on medical student education. This year, that's Dr. Siddiqa. So I look to that chief resident to help out if I have questions or I want to, get word out to the neurology residents. So I will reach out to our chief resident who focuses on med student education. And they also are welcome to teach as part of our conferences. By the time our residents get to senior year, if their schedules allow, they are more than welcome to attend and moderate conferences, which are formal sort of interactive case-based discussions with the medical students where they review a dedicated set of cases on about 4 hours for the first 3 of 4 weeks of the rotation. So there are opportunities for both more formal conference teaching, as well as the stuff that our residents are doing all along, which is primarily bedside and one-to-one teaching based on the time that they're spending with medical students. Dr. Assad mentioned the medical student research program, and I also moderate the student interest group in neurology. So we have a whole SIGN student interest group in neurology board, and we're very proud of them at how much they really get involved, and how that's another method of recruiting really talented medical students to our profession. So I'm going to stop there, but I'd be happy to answer any additional questions about med student education or education as altogether.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Alessi LaRosa. I'm the director of the sports neurology program at Hartford Healthcare and the fellowship director for the sports neurology fellowship at UConn and Hartford Hospital. I was a former resident of the UConn neurology program as well. So I kind of have the fun slides, I think, which, is, I'm been probably some of these pictures as well, because I always had fun when I was a resident. So really, wellness is a big focus. I think you'll probably hear about it at a lot of programs, but ours I find is unique. We actually have a wellness chief that is, one of the PGY4s who's really involved in trying to, help the residents and, again, focused on wellness and making sure everybody feels balanced in a work-life balance. And so there's about $2,000 in the budget for wellness activities through the UConn Graduate Medical Education Department. So there's, again, lots of events that can be sponsored with that money, and again, funds that are dedicated to resident wellness. So there's a lot of sponsored events, but also GME as a whole. So at UConn, all of the different programs, not just neurology, they do sponsor happy hours and different events as well. So you'll get to, mingle with some of the other residents of different programs across the board at UConn. And there are quarterly wellness events instead of afternoon lectures. So every Tuesday there's afternoon lectures for the residents, but quarterly they do exchange that out for just things to do that are maybe a little more low key or more fun and less didactic. And then of course there's bowling nights, axe throwing, holiday parties, whatever anybody wants to do. They're very open, of course, to new ideas and stuff as well. So there's some pictures of fun to do here. Bowling, there's a river, the Farmington River, there's stuff to do there. This is at one of the happy hours on a rooftop. It's the Dave and Buster's. So lots of fun things to do. Next slide. These are just really fun things to do in our area, so outside of the hospital, right? And that's again, very important to have a work-life balance. So there's a lot of sporting events. I'm sure most of you have heard that UConn and Connecticut as a whole is the basketball capital of the world, I think now, between the men's and women's teams. So there's always fun events going on with sporting events. This is downtown in West Hartford Center. Lots of shops and restaurants and things to do there. Beautiful sceneries and parks everywhere. Lots of ways to get involved. And then there's some water stuff to do. There's beaches, of course. You can travel to the shore within an hour. This is one of our casinos in Connecticut, the Mohegan Sun Casino. As a sports neurologist, I do ringside work at Mohegan Sun in the arena. The arena has a lot of concerts. You know, Beyonce's been there. I don't know, all the hits. They've all come through there. They have comedians. I don't know, lots of stuff to do at the casinos. And then just really beautiful scenery, hiking, all of the above. Next slide. And so we talked a little bit about the fellowships and that a lot of residents have come back and or stay on to do our fellowships. So these are really specifics about which fellowships we offer. So this is vascular neurology fellowship with Dr. Tungatori, neuromuscular with Dr. Amanda Hernandez-Jones, neurointerventional with Dr. Olenschlager. There's headache fellowship with Dr. Mella, movement disorders with Dr. Dimarcaida, myself for sports neurology, epilepsy with Dr. Chef, and we're working on a neurocritical care fellowship as well. And just as a note too, sports neurology, just if anyone's interested, is there's only 8 or 9 fellowships in the whole country. So to have one here is really amazing. There really isn't any other in the Northeast. The next closest one is in Florida. So very unique to have. And a lot of the residents, they all rotate with me. So even if they don't want to go into sports neurology, just having that around and giving the residents a sense of how to treat head injury and other neurologic conditions in athletes is great. Well balanced.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ankush. I'm one of the PGY3 residents at UConn. In order to talk about our graduates and like our alumni and the places that they've been to, I am one of the PGY3, so I'm applying to fellowships, which is in like 7 months. So I think this, that when I see the slide and when I see our graduates, it gives me a sense of relief of the amazing places our residents have gone to after fellowship, and pretty diverse too, and not just restricted to any inpatient and outpatient. I think that is one of the it's a testament to the diverse experience we get as residents here, with a mix of both inpatient and outpatient, and our amazing faculty too, because any question you have regarding if you're stuck somewhere, if you're in between deciding, you can just reach out to any of the faculty members, and I have done that multiple times, bother them a lot even after hours, and they don't mind at all. So like as we can see here in our 2022 class, a lot of the residents ended up staying here at UConn and at Hartford for different fellowships, especially for example, movements, for headaches and vascular neurology, and same for the PGY. So for the outgoing the 2023 class also have gone to different places, and we recently had our senior class, the PGY4 class, who have matched, and they have gone to the places of their choice as well. So that really, I think it's just tells you a lot about the program, because of the different experiences you can get here. Tina, thanks.
Hi, I'm Tina Lender. I've been the program coordinator here since 2015. Several of these recruitment seasons under my belt, and it's one of the most busy but most fun parts of the year for me. This is the last slide, so I'm going to go through it very quickly because I'm sure you want to get to the Q&A portion. Just wanted to let you know a little bit about what to expect if you do decide to interview with us. We do offer 2 days and times for interviews, just to accommodate different schedules or time zones. So you would either do interviews Wednesday night at 5 p.m. Eastern time or Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And it basically, I think you'll find a lot of programs follow the same pattern. We'll have a program overview with a senior resident and Dr. Schuyler, And then you'll interview with 3 or 4 faculty. One of them will always be Dr. Schuyler, and one of them will 99% of the time be our chair, Dr. Greenfield, who is extremely involved in our recruitment process, which is nice. And then 1 or 2 other faculty as well. And then we also have a senior resident stay the entire interview time, so that when you have your break in between interviews, you can always ask any questions that may pop up or just chat. So that's the interview day. And then we have 2 other events that go on during your interview week that are optional, but highly encouraged, because you get to know people a lot better if you do these 2 things. One of them is a social hour. That's a Zoom social hour that's on Wednesday night. And there will be about 4 residents or so there. And you can get to know them, ask them any questions. They'll probably start out in a group, and then you'll probably go into some smaller breakout teams so that you can, feel like you're getting all your questions answered. And then the other optional but recommended event is our Thursday Grand Rounds that Dr. Tarzaria was mentioning. So you can log on at 7:30 a.m. Eastern time, and you can view a resident. You can see another resident give a case presentation, and also see our Grand Rounds. And you'll actually get the link to our Grand Rounds that will be the same all season. So if you can't make it that week, or you feel like you want to see more, you are always welcome to actually join any Grand Rounds after your interviews. So that was the last screen. With that said, I think I'll stop sharing and we can go to Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tina. We were saving the best for last. Tina, as most of you probably will also find out, is like the key member of our program, and we all love her for what she does. So I'll see, and one of our chiefs, Shreya Gupta, has also joined, who's our recruitment chief. We'll start with some of the questions. Dr. Schuyler, I'll ask a couple of them, which probably I think you'll be best to answer, both as a program director and as an epileptologist, in the chat. The first one is about how much weightage do you put on previous research experience, and in terms of application review.
Sure. So we do what's called holistic review. You've probably seen that term. So there's not a particular characteristic of your application that we're looking for. We're really looking at the whole thing. And so I think one of the biggest things when people ask me, what are we looking for in an applicant? I mean, number one is that we can tell you're really excited about neurology, because this is a clinical neurology training program, and we're looking for people that are really excited to be neurologists. So that's like the most important part, I think. And then people are from all different backgrounds, have all different training backgrounds, all different, lives and ways they've gotten to medicine, and ways that they've trained so far, whether or not they've done some residency already, whether or not they are currently a 4th-year medical student. Everybody has a different background. So, in terms of a well-balanced application, I think just kind of demonstrating what you're interested in, right? So there's not a specific research requirement, but if you are particularly interested in research in a specific area, have worked on some research projects you're really proud of, then I would make sure to describe those well, list those in your meaningful experience section, and be prepared to talk about your research interest and your research projects if you're invited for interview. So I think there's no magic number of case reports or author, what author you are in a paper. If you're on a paper that, I don't really think that that's really the key. It's really about sort of, why are you interested in research? Are there particular questions that have been very interesting to you? What are you looking for in your clinical training? How would your research experience kind of add to that? And, in your future career path, if that's something that you want to be including as part of your career, sort of as a, physician scientist, or as a physician who does some clinical research or basic research when you're done, or medical education research, just be able to really discuss that and sort of why you're interested in that and what you like about it. So I think, hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. And I think it also answers a question about a score cutoff. As Dr. Schuyler mentioned, we do a holistic review. In terms of, another question, Dr. Skylar, is like since you're also the Associate Chief of Education, there are questions about neuroimmunology and neurocritical care fellowship programs. I will start by saying that a lot of our residents, including our current chief resident, one of our chiefs, Shreya, they're going into neurocritical care and neuroimmunology. So we definitely see not only a lot of volume, but a lot of diversity. We are like the largest healthcare system in the whole state. So the volume that we get is probably, the highest. And as a residency program with both John Dempsey Hospital and Hartford Hospital, we do get a lot of that volume. So Dr. Skylar, about the upcoming fellowships, if you can answer
Sure.
that.
Yeah. So, it's not an instantaneous process, as some of you may know, but because we've grown so much in our neurocritical care division, we actually have 2 neurointensive care units at Hartford Hospital. So we have an 18-bed unit, and then they built a new building that opened a couple of years ago, and there's another, I think, 6-bed neuro ICU in that one. So we have 2 neuro ICUs, and I think we have, I think it's 7 neurology neurointensivists now on our faculty at Hartford Hospital, and we have 2 at UConn. So we have a huge faculty, we have a big division, we have a lot of patients, it's a high volume. So, I think we're at the point where we're probably going to be pursuing that just because, it's a great learning opportunity to be able to offer additional training in our intensive care. Our residents definitely get exposure from beginning of residency. They have a PGY1 rotation in the neuro ICU, so they're really getting to see those patients. For neuroimmunology as well, we've also had quite a few new faculty join our programs in the last couple of years, and we're at the point where also we're looking to potentially start a additional training program in neuroimmunology. So that's underway right now. I can't give you the exact timeframes for these, but neurocritical care is an ACGME accredited subspecialty, so that would require like ACGME accreditation, whereas neuroimmunology is not. So it's a little bit different paths for applying, but I won't go into details about how all the background stuff works in making a new program. That's one of the things I really enjoy doing. I've helped with starting up a lot of the fellowships that we currently offer.
Perfect.
I wanted to mention also, because I saw one of the questions in here too, before I forget, about the patient volume. Do we see a number of zebras and mysteries? So let me tell you, Hartford Hospital has close to 1,000 beds, and there are not a lot of big hospitals around. So I know you think of Boston being 2 hours away. Boston's got a ton of hospitals. New York's got a ton of hospitals, but Connecticut does not. It's us and Yale. We're the 2 big places in the entire state, and we're huge hospitals and we're busy. So if you think about it, we have 7 hospitals that are part of our system. We get all the sickest patients transferred to us. So think about half of a state and how many interesting patients we may see, as opposed to if you're in a medium or large city that has potentially 10 to 15 teaching hospitals within the same city. So yeah, every time I do consult service, one time I think I had 2 cases of herpes encephalitis like in the same week. We see everything, and I think our morning report and also our weekly resident case presentations often really highlight some of those very challenging, complex, hard to figure out cases that maybe we'll figure it out and maybe we won't. Maybe there's not, an antibody that anybody's discovered yet for an antibody mediated syndrome that somebody may have. And, we throw everything at a patient and they're really sick. And, so we have a lot of these really challenging cases, particularly on our general neurology service, as well as throughout the hospital that we're seeing in consultation. So a lot of breadth and depth of really great cases sort of across the board. And then just in terms of, I'm not a stroke neurologist, you got a bunch of them here though. They're doing stroke treatment cases like night and day. I mean, honestly, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, they're doing thrombectomies like all the time. They're giving TPA all the time. You're not going to come out of residency at this program being like, I haven't given a lot of TPA. We don't get a lot of treatment cases. Like, you will be giving TPA like all the time. So, there are a ton, a lot of really sick patients. We just, Aisha just did a journal club session reviewing indications for hemicraniectomy. She just did that yesterday in our didactics, and the volume of hemicraniectomies alone, like in Hartford Hospital, are like the amount from some of these multi-center trials. I mean, just in 1 year. So, I think it's, just in terms of a learning environment and the amount of cases you get, I'm impressed every time I work in this hospital. And I'm going to answer one because I didn't talk during the presentation, so I'm doing all my talking now, I guess. In terms of the epilepsy program, there was a question I skimmed and saw about the volume of epilepsy surgery. So we have a level 4 NAC Surgical Epilepsy Center at Hartford Healthcare. We have 10 epileptologists at Hartford Hospital. It's a lot of epileptologists. Why are there so many of us? Because like we're so busy, right? So we read EEGs for 7 hospitals that all do EEGs that have 24/7 coverage. 3 of the hospitals have long-term monitoring with neuro ICUs. So we're monitoring 3 hospitals, including our 24 neuro ICU beds at Hartford Hospital. And then we have a 6-bed EMU, and we have pretty much a steady stream of invasive monitoring cases. So we do all like the NeuroPace and VNS and like all that good stuff, but we have been doing a lot of stereo EEG cases. We do all of the testing in-house with the exception of we do not have a 7 Tesla MRI and we do not have a MEG at Hartford Hospital. So for those 2 studies, our intractable epilepsy patients that are going to undergo surgery go to Mass General. They get those 2 studies done there. And then the imaging expert and the MEG expert from Mass General logs into our weekly surgical epilepsy conference and presents those results just as they would if they were done locally. So, but basically it's the full range of, grids and strips and stereo EEG and all that good stuff in terms of our, epilepsy surgery cases.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dr. Schuyler. I think there's one question directed at the residents, Niharika. I'm just going to pick you. They are asking about mentorship that you received during your residency in terms of just general career advice, fellowship applications, everything. So what do you want to say?
It's phenomenal. I'll say from each juncture as a PGY 2, 3, 4, even a PGY 1, everyone is so supportive in terms of mentoring residents. As a PGY 1 even, we have our own wellness mentor. My mentor is Dr. Eugene for wellness. She checks in on me, makes sure I'm doing okay, and is much needed friendly face sometimes in a busy year. And my other mentor, we have a research mentor or a designated faculty mentor who has been Dr. Mehta, and he really guided me through the course of my residency into doing all the research, learning from the basics, because I didn't really have a lot of research background coming in to residency. So everything I learned is through the course of residency, and my mentors and every single faculty member has really guided me through this process to the point as a PGY4 you've seen so much, and we are now mentoring our PGY2, so it comes full circle.
Perfect. Thanks, Niharika. I know Dr. Tarasaria answered the question about the community outreach. I also wanted to ask Dr. Leslie LaRosa and Dr. Tarasaria if you can also mention for the group about the community-based activities, because I know Dr. Tarasaria and I do the stroke-related stuff, but Dr. Leslie, the community sort of activities, I know you're involved with that a lot as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to be involved. Certainly when COVID was happening, we were doing vaccines. There's always a call for stuff when things come up through Hartford Healthcare. They have a lot of community outreach fairs and things like that as well. I work a lot of different sporting events. I donate my time for that just to do kind of coverage and stuff. So if anyone's interested in things like that, you can always come along with me. And then I also wanted to mention, when I was a resident, we did start an elective for people to get involved to go to Haiti. But now, unfortunately, because of the state of Haiti, it's been challenging to get residents there. But we do have a real focus on global medicine, and that is something that we care deeply about and want to get back up and running as soon as it's safe to do so. So there is that global medicine elective as well.
Perfect. Thanks so much. The other question that I had, actually, I got it on Twitter, and I promised that person, I hope they're on the call, that I'll ask them. They were interested, and Dr. Eugene, I'm going to ask you this question. One of the reasons that I'm happy that you're here is because they were wondering what sort of training do we get as, I know you're really involved in coaching a lot of residents to be teachers and educators. Is there a formal track that they can join at UConn or at Hartford where they can develop their skills as an educator?
So we don't have an actual resident educator track as yet. Dr. Schuyler and I are actually part of a work group with other medical educators in the American Academy of Neurology. We are looking to develop a resident as educator curriculum that would be through the American Academy of Neurology, where you would do some modules, you can get a certificate. We're still ironing out how far it'll go and what the certificate would look like. And what the end product would look like, but certainly modules that could be reviewed and culminate either with a poster presentation or something of that sort. So that is something we've thought about and are looking to expand on. At this time during that boot camp, one of the talks that occur that I'm happy to do and that I do annually is a resident as educator discussion. And so we go through different scenarios. I review sort of the nuts and bolts of our clerkship, but aside from that, we talk about some nuts and bolts about student evaluation and student assessment and how to give feedback and things sort of nuts and bolts about that. So I do that talk, and I'm always happy to discuss that stuff offline as well. But in terms of formal stuff down the pike, yeah, Dr. Schuyler and I and a group of other folks are working on hopefully developing some curriculum that we could administer through American Academy of Neurology.
Perfect.
Yeah, so regardless if you're a resident in our program or not, you'll be able to participate in all of the educational modules that both Dr. Eugene and I are helping to put together. So we're making it for everybody, not just for our program. So that'll hopefully be coming out within the next few months. I think the goal is to have it all released before the next annual meeting.
Perfect. I think there's a question about resident benefits. While obviously we can go into details about it and you'll hear about it, in the GME, and if you, match here, you'll hear all about it. I can say that the program is very supportive when it comes to maternity leave. And I know that a lot of our residents, their schedules have been changed, even on short notice for whatever reason, in order to accommodate them by the program. But Dr. Schuyler, anything specific you would like to highlight?
I mean, I think I think it's all detailed on the website if you want like all of the specifics, but I think the one that gets asked about sometimes is parking, and I don't think our residents need to like pay a bunch of money to park, which I guess is an issue at some programs, and I never knew that. So I think we made sure to like go in and put that because we didn't realize that like not everybody had, free parking. So that's the only one I can think of offhand, but yeah, I think just in terms of, all the health, and I mean, Connecticut is very progressive. Like they offer a lot of employee benefits for the trainees and for people that work at the different hospitals.
Perfect. And Dr. Tharasarya, this is a question for you I received on Twitter about like procedure-based skills training. I know obviously as the curriculum specialist, you're involved in that. I know you mentioned that during the presentation as well. Could you highlight more on that, and what are some of the skills that you sort of teach in our SESI and other sort of simulation centers?
Yeah, so we begin in our boot camp, which is the last block of the PGY1. So that 4-month period before, 4-week slot before the residents start PGY2. And we focus on a variety of things, beginning from lumbar puncture simulation to a brain dead simulation, a coma exam, and stroke code simulation. Starting this year, we have added the neurointerventional workshop, again, for more of a hands-on experience for the residents who are kind of interested in that field. Obviously, you're not able to do that on live patients. I think it's kind of a good segue into kind of being more familiar and kind of working down that pathway if that's what your interest is. We are also, through the year, we have Botox workshops, both for movement disorders for treatment of spasticity, and also Botox workshops for headaches, where we actually perform live simulations on patient models so that residents can actually get the hands-on exposure to be able to perform those procedures. Our lumbar punctures beyond the boot camp, the first 3 ones are supervised again by the senior residents, so the residents get comfortable before they're kind of signed off to be able to do them by themselves. And during their PGY2, PGY3 years, when they get their outpatient subspecialty blocks, they have ample opportunities to get familiar with EEGs and EMGs and be proficient in terms of interpreting them, but also get an opportunity to perform those procedures in terms of we have our residents accompany one of the technicians to actually put the leads on so they know how to actually do it, and also be able to perform an EMG so that they can get more confident in those skills as well.
Perfect, thank you. And Aisha, I forgot about the free gym at the hospital. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, I think that's a big benefit. It's on site, and all of you can work out if you're interested in that. And then the other question that I wanted to, I was about to actually come up with this question. How well do residents get along with each other outside of the hospital, and do they play sports and other activities together? Well, I can assure you that all of us really get along. And I know Dr. Alessi talked about wellness. I think it's like the hallmark of our program. Everybody is happy. In fact, I just realized that most of our faculty that is on this are also former residents here.
I think it's everybody.
Everybody,
I
exactly.
think everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So-
a bunch of, it's across the year. So, yeah, just like I was looking at that when I saw our panel, I was like, wow, this is like 10 years, spanning 10 years of graduation dates is our faculty panel tonight, which is really exciting for me. And hearing you all, honestly, like hearing you all talk. So I've got like PGY 1 through Dr. Eugene. I won't say what PGY year you are. That shows us how old both of us are. But basically, yeah, everybody's friends.
Shreya, you want to talk about some of the resident activities that you guys do? Because I know you're pretty active in doing stuff outside of work as well.
Yeah, if like I had to like pick one thing that's the best about the program is the collegiality and like the ease with which you can talk to each other and your attendings. I think that's something that I feel is the best thing about our program as well. And regarding wellness, so as Dr. Alessi was mentioning, we have 4 like didactic sessions, like 3-hour sessions that like essentially are wellness. Like last time we kind of played neuro taboo and like neuro Pictionary. We do like Secret Santa. Recently we went axe throwing, and I actually went skydiving as well recently with my friend, but that's like available here, like, and at a very decent price as well. And there's like kayaking, so there's a lot of different opportunities available. There's a lot of arcades, Dave & Buster's, laser tag, paintball. So those kind of like all activities, it like depends, like of course some people are on service, some not, so like to kind of coordinate that. But like any day, like you're kind of like want to hang out, go someplace, like we all kind of do that almost on a regular basis, that like, hey, like the shift was like busy, let's go somewhere, hey, like I want to talk, let's do this. So like I actually feel I can talk to any of my colleagues anytime, which I feel like I actually really enjoy that.
Perfect. Thanks, Shreya. So I think we're running short of time. We tried to, I think, cover almost all the questions, but of course, our social media. Tina, if you can share the last slide with our social media sort of details. I think I'll end by just Dr. Schuyler, if there are any closing remarks that you have. I think we have a few minutes left, so I thought that we'll wrap up, but just reach out to us. Tina will share the ways that you can reach out to us. The program website is obviously updated, and we are looking forward to seeing many of you during the interview season.
Yeah, so I just wanted to thank first off our faculty and our residents for showing up tonight and just giving such a comprehensive review of our program, and just really hopefully gave our potential applicants a good sense of who we are as a program, a little bit of our personality, as well as some of the details. So I encourage you to review all of our materials online, as well as on our social media sites. We try to keep pretty active there and post, different activities that our residents are involved in, and sometimes post like topics from our grand rounds and, different activities, wellness activities and didactic activities that our residents are participating in, that hopefully gives you a little bit more information about sort of their day-to-day activities in the program. But I wanted to wish all of you good luck and have fun with this process. And I've said this in a couple other webinars, but this is a really exciting time for all of you to really get to know and network with neurologists from all over the place. So, you're going to match in one program, but if you interview at multiple programs, that just gives you the opportunity to meet other program directors, residents from other programs. You get to meet other applicants. So oftentimes you get to meet a lot of the applicants who are going through the process at the same time. And I think the more you can enjoy it and try to relax and just be yourself, the more you'll get out of it. So I just wanted to wish you all good luck. I love interviewing. I love reviewing the applications. I've been doing it for such a long time. I wouldn't still be doing it if I didn't love it. And I just look forward every year to just seeing all of these applications, just to read about people's paths to medicine and what they're interested in, and then get to meet a select group of them and really learn more about their interests. And it's an honor for me to really get to know so many of our future neurologists over time that it's really exciting for me. So I just wanted to say, like, the program directors and the faculty you're meeting are all, we want to meet you. We want to learn more about you. And we're looking forward to meeting a bunch of you over the next couple of months. So good luck to you all. And thanks for joining us tonight.